Okay guys, we started the stream again, and let's see if YouTube now kicks in, and otherwise we'll just do it via Facebook and hard disk recording. And there we go, starting stream health. Okay, so that did the trick, I think. Okay guys, welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom, and we have a cool new surprise for you guys, and I'm gonna show you that in a moment. But before that, I want to thank BenQ and Rogue for making our Digital Classroom possible, of course. Now, we did have some trouble starting up. That's why we're approximately 1 minute late. And normally, hey, I'm always on time. And that's because our internet keeps crapping out. So I hope that this episode will be one that we actually totally finish without problems, because the internet is going down and up and down and up. It's terrible. Okay, so are you ready, guys? And of course you can leave comments on Facebook, and you can leave comments in the chat room from Digital Classroom. Now my face is a little bit too dark on this camera, but don't worry, the other cameras are fine. Okay, so I think YouTube is now also catching up, so we're ready to start. Now, wasn't that a little bit more relaxing, right guys, instead of the big air guitar? Okay, so today, Digital Classroom, we have our best model from Emmeloord. And her name is... I knew Lois. She's going like, I'm Lois. I know Lois, because Lois is my model. So of course I know Lois. Hello Lois, how are you? Hello. She's all the way over there. So let's switch over to what we're gonna do. And then you guys are in for a treat today, because we have some really cool stuff. So let me see, camera 3. That's right. And camera 2. Okay, Anouk, will you take over for me behind the desk?
Yes, of course.
Awesome. Okay, so let's tap on here and see if everything works, because of course that's always the thing with a live shoot. Okay, so we start out, and let me see, which camera do I have to look at in a week? That one?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna start out very simple with small strobes. Now, small strobes, or in other words, speed lights, are without a doubt fun. And why is it fun? For the very simple reason, you can do a lot of the stuff that you normally do with big strobes. You can also do with the smaller strobes. Okay, so we're gonna start out with ETTL. And let me set everything up for ETTL. There we go. And Lois, are you ready?
Yes.
Can you please come up the set? And don't shout in my ear, because I see something that I don't like to see in my ears. Okay, so on this strobe, we actually put a Rogue flash bender. And this is without a doubt one of my favorite modifiers, because it's actually the Frank Doro flash bender, and what we did is we put a grid in it and fold it up like a strip light. It's gonna be fun, Lois, don't worry. Make sure you're on the same groups, so I have to check this very quickly. And let's change the group. Okay, there we go. Channel 1, group A. And I'm going to start out very simple, but just aiming it straight on the model. So I'm using ETTL, and this is also why I don't like using ETTL, as you can see in a moment. So let's aim this straight at our model. There we go. Look a little bit down. Really nice. And as you can see, a beautiful image comes in, but it's incredibly over-lighted. So how is that possible? It's big overexposure. Yes, I hear you say it. When you do small flash, you have to remember that your camera, when you're doing it outside, can use the AV mode. Now, AV mode is aperture priority mode. That actually means that you determine the aperture and the camera will determine the shutter speed. When you do it in the studio, you have to make sure that you shoot on manual mode. So let's first see what happens there. Is everything going okay behind the camera, guys?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so let's switch this back. And then, of course, your shutter speed is very important. Now, in the case of the studio, I like to use 125th. ISO, outside, often auto. In the studio, of course, ISO 100. So let's try it again. And let's see if our strobes work. By a little test. There we go. And we try it again. Awesome. The first thing you will notice is that the image looks a little bit overexposed, especially on the sides. And you go like, what's going wrong? Well, this is what ETTL does. ETTL meters through the lens and it will always try to determine for 18% gray. Now, of course, in this case, there is no 18% gray because, well, Lois isn't 18% gray. Are you, Lois? No. No. Okay, we'll try one more time and see if the system is better this time. And it's actually not. That's a shame. Now, even when I walk around my model, you will see that the the exposure changes. This is even more hot, so it's like, it doesn't work either. So how do we solve this? Of course, in ETTL, you can do something called exposure compensation. So let's try that. So let's go to -1.5 stop. Now, that looks way better. This is something from experience. You have to know which scene do I shoot, how much is there in the scene in light areas and in darker areas, and then you can use your flash exposure compensation. What you, of course, better can do is use a light meter. Not going to do that now, don't worry, I'm going to use flash exposure compensation. Why? Because I'm aiming for one shot and one shot only, and I don't want to take too much of your time. Okay, Lois, I love the way that you're standing there. I just love it. The thing is, I'm only shooting her chest up. And of course, Lois is more of a model than just chest up. So we want to make sure that we shoot more of Lois. Otherwise, people won't recognize you on the street. They will expect somebody... I'm just kidding. So let me see. Why do I use exposure compensation, flash exposure compensation with my small strobes? Because I'm going to move the strobes around. And I don't want to keep metering constantly. So I want a little bit more contrast. And you can get more contrast by changing the position of your strobe to a little bit closer. Are you nervous, Lois?
No.
She's shaking a little bit. Don't worry, we're trained professionals. It's not your first time. You've been with me before. Okay, so this looks a little bit better. Now, as you can see, we have way more contrast in the image. And this is one of the biggest tricks in light control. If you move your light very close to your model, the light fall-off will be faster and you get more of that contrasty look. This is getting somewhere. I think this is getting nice. Okay, let me just change the exposure compensation just a little bit. The thing is, I can only go down 3 stops. After that, I have to shoot full manual, but most of the time 3 stops will work. And I'm still shooting chest up because I want to get the exposure right. And now I'm actually going to make it more interesting. Love this. Now the exposure is right, love the model. And yeah, the background, really cool. And as you can see, the background is actually pretty simple, right? A lot of people go like, I need expensive backgrounds or I need seamless paper. The best background in the world is what you already have. And that's walls. Just put wallpaper on it or paint. You can get beautiful shots. Okay, let me sit down to get a proper lower angle. Oh, now it's going down, Lois. Now it's going. Okay, can you hold the megaphone a little bit more like that? Okay, now because I don't coach Lois, she will actually look straight at me and you will see those dark eyes. We call them raccoon eyes. Big dark areas around her eyes. Yeah, that's not something that we want. That's not something that's cool. That's something that's a little bit worrying, actually. She looks like a zombie. So I have to concentrate that side. I know you probably prefer looking at me, but don't. 1, 2, 3, go! Big scream! Yay! And yay! There we go. Awesome. Now the thing is, you have to coach your model. You have to make sure that she portrays what you want. Now in this case, I said scream, but she's more like, oh. So we're like, oh, when can I go home? Frank, please. So what I have to do is I have to make sure that she's a little bit more enthusiastic. So I can of course say you don't get any pay if you don't scream, but that's just being rude. And that gives you more of an expression of disgust and anger. That could be cool. So I have to do this. Okay, Lois, when you do this, you go rah, all out. And without making sound, please. And hold that hand, the other hand also. When you do something like this, rah, you really want that power in. 1, 2, 3, go. Awesome. Now see the difference between what you see online now and that shot. That's a huge difference. Now we're getting somewhere. This is what I absolutely love to do. And let me see, it's a little bit dark on the front. And the cool thing is, don't use extra strobes. You can use extra strobes, but what you can better do is just change the position of your strobe, just very slightly. So we're gonna take this one, move it a little bit more back. She's having fun. And there we go. Sit down again. And do the same thing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. What you do have to realize too is that when she's holding a megaphone or anything else, she's actually casting a shadow on her body. You see this, right? So that screaming part may or may not work perfectly. What you can better do is incorporate that megaphone somewhere. So Lois, can you just hold it like this? Yes. Look straight into the light. That's cool. Nice. Cool. Okay. Okay, and now doing something to make Lois really nervous. You see she's getting nervous. And you know why? Because I don't say anything. I'm quiet. She doesn't know if she's doing anything right. And this is one of the most asked questions. How do you coach your models? How do you keep the feel going during the photo shoot? One of the things that's important is don't coach your model like some sort of, you know what I mean, right? Somebody who's not nice. So don't do it like this. Lois, look. No, not like that. Act like a model. No, terrible. No, I don't like that. No, hate it. Don't laugh. Listen to me, don't. No, that's terrible. You see, she knows me, so she knows I will never coach her like this. But normally that will make you incredibly uncomfortable in front of the camera. You go like, oh my, what's going on? Am I doing something wrong? This is not the way that it's supposed to be. What you have to do is make sure that you constantly keep coaching that model. Make her look great. Okay, Lois, are you ready? Have some fun, girl. Yeah, there we go. A little bit lower with the megaphone. Or higher, it doesn't matter. Yeah, a little bit lower even. Awesome, love this. Yes, that's the way. Great. Look a little bit more towards the light. Awesome. That's great. Love the, oh, that's nice. Look at those lines. Great. Love the shot. Now, even if I don't like that shot, I will tell her I like the shot for the very simple reason you don't want to hear, that sucks, Lois. You want to hear, that's great. So if I tell her that's great, she will actually start performing better. And I love it when a model performs better because that's when I get more interesting shots. Now for some people this is a little bit too contrasty and I understand. So let's change the light a little bit more. And let me see, are there any questions in between, Anna-Week? I guess so.
Yes, there are.
Okay, let me first do some questions then very quickly.
Do you need to go on -3 on composition because there's a lot of light in the studio?
Okay, the question was, do you need to go to -3 flash exposure compensation because of the lighting in the studio? No. If the strobe doesn't fire and you saw that, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images back, there's a black screen. So the LED panels, Let Go by the way, a little bit of advertising for Let Go, we love Let Go. Great panels, Let Go, it's Let Go, great. Anyway, so that was a little bit of fun of course, but we really love Let Go. So the panels aren't interfering with the strobes itself. So I'm shooting on manual mode and ETTL, and let me see what my aperture is at the moment, 4.5 on ISO 100. Those LED panels don't interfere. So the flash exposure compensation is purely meant for one very simple reason. I need to dim my strobes. So if I use ETTL and I use my flash exposure compensation on 0, it's overexposed. Now the flash exposure compensation I put down to minus, at this moment, -1 or 1.5, and then I get the proper exposure because the camera will try to make everything 18% gray. Now, if you use exposure compensation, that's when you start to talk about auto ISO in manual on the Sonys or aperture priority mode. This is very important outside. Let's say you want to kill the sun and you have a lot of sunlight and you want to get the sun a little bit less in the picture, like no more ambient light or a little bit less. Now what you do is you use exposure compensation. So with exposure compensation, you lower the ambient light to make the strobe stand out a little bit more. If you lower exposure compensation and flash exposure compensation, you get underexposed shots. Now on some cameras, it's linked. So if you lower the exposure compensation -3, you have to raise the flash exposure compensation to +3, and then the model is correctly lit. On most modern cameras, they're not linked. So you can actually lower the exposure compensation to let in less ambient light, meaning the image is underexposed. But by using strobes on 0, the model is properly exposed. And that's when you get that short day to night effect. So that's very simple to do. Maybe one day when it's a little bit less cold, we will actually do a digital classroom again outside. So we can show you that effect. Somebody's nodding no. Why not? No. Any more questions, Annewiek?
No.
No, really? Okay. Okay, let's change the light one more time. And let's change it a little bit more from the front. And of course, we love Lois from the front also. There we go. You see she's smiling more. That means that she feels more comfortable. Now, don't make her too many compliments, because then she will actually start feeling uncomfortable. Like Lois?
Yes.
Oh, yeah? Really? Oh, okay. Oh, behave. Love this. Really nice. Great, look straight into the light. Okay, can you tilt your hips just a little bit? Like cross your legs maybe? Awesome, that's great. Okay, look down. Nice, love this. Now, as you can see, thanks to the strip light, you get this really nice intense light and vignetting on the side. The thing is the shadow on the background. That's a little bit worrying, right? What we would like to do is get that shadow a little bit less intense. So let's do something that I should have done before, according to some, but I like the shadow sometimes. Lois, can you step 2 steps forward, please? Thank you. Big steps.
Big steps?
No, you're okay.
Okay.
Now what I'm going to do is there's something called calculating your shadow. And that's actually pretty simple. You just follow the line of the shadow and you know where it's going to be cast. So if I follow the line of the shadow, I know the shadow will end up over there. So that means if I don't focus over there with my composition, I won't see the shadow. So I'm going to sit down again. I'm going to give our new interns a workout for the cameras. And otherwise, they can always switch to the high cam on that side, Annewiek. Annewiek, you can also switch on the high cam on that side if you want. Okay, cool. Just trying to help out. There we go. Now we have the shadow all the way on the back of the model. So there isn't anything really connecting to the model anymore. So that's cool. That's nice, Lois. Awesome. Cool. Love this. The background is also, because I'm shooting on 4.5, a little bit out of focus. Okay. Now if you want to lose the complete background, that's doable. But you have to change the light again. So if you know where the shadow is going to cast, just change your light to here. Aim it at Lois. And there we go. Don't you just love her edgy outfit? That's what I mean with edgy. Love it. Okay. Great. And now you can see that there's almost no more shadow on the background. I have this really nice high contrast look. Cool. I have to wait for the beep. Okay, Lois, awesome. Love it. Oh, shooting too fast. Okay, let me change something on the camera very quickly. Ah, that's what's going on. Change my aperture by accident. Nice. Cool. Aim the microphone down just a little bit. Okay, aim it down. And now like this. Like a cowboy. Yes, or cowgirl. Love it. Great. And this is the cool thing about ETTL. As soon as you figured out that exposure compensation, I'm still a little bit hot on some of the shots, but I can compensate that very easily in Photoshop or Capture One. As soon as you get that ETTL look in, you can actually change that very, very quickly by just changing the light and just keep shooting. And when you use a light meter, of course, every time you have to meter. So with small flash, I'm more of a run and gun person. I want to make my shots very, very quick, and I want to move my lights around a lot, and that's when I'm using ETTL, and I'm just using flash exposure compensation. As soon as I have a fixed setup, and I have a setup that I will know that I'm going to use for a while, that's when immediately I pick out a light meter and I start metering, because then the model stays in the same position, the lighting stays in the same position, and then a light meter makes a lot of sense. In this case, because we're moving the light around so much, and I'm only aiming for 1 or 2 shots, we can do with ETTL. But if you want to look professional, always use a light meter, and if you want to be fast, always use a light meter, because this is varying in light output. Okay, another question.
Well, one is a remark actually. On the Sony, you can choose to link the exposure compensation to ambient or ambient and flash.
Correct. On the Sony, you can indeed link that, but that's I think one of the first cameras where I actually saw that in the menu. So for a lot of Canon and Nikon users, I don't think that's possible. Another thing for the Sony camera, which is incredibly cool, is that of course you have an EVF and you can see what you do. So in the past, what I would have done is actually meter the background with a spot meter and then calculate in my mind like, okay, how many stops do I want to overexpose this? And then I put up the strobes. The cool thing about the Sony system, because of the EVF, is that I can actually now just look through the viewfinder. I will change my exposure compensation down and up until I see what I like. And then I will see, okay, this is on aperture f11. And then I will actually set up my strobe on f11 with the light meter, of course. And it works way faster. So thanks to what you see through the viewfinder, you can make the sky as dark as you like in the picture. And of course, you can also link ambient and flash. But again, I only saw that up until now in the Sony cameras. And the second question, Anouk. And I hope you turned the microphone on.
It's on now.
Okay.
What kind of background is it? He likes it. And the other question is, what's the difference in light quality using the flash blender with grid and beauty disc with grid? What's the difference?
Okay. Annelie, can you set up a beauty disc very quickly with grid or somebody else? So just take one normal strobe and give me a sky port. And then let's put on a beauty disc with a grid to show you guys. And this is my trigger now. Okay. So we're going to set it up very quickly, and then I'm going to show you. So, and the other question was, what is the background? It's just a movable wall, which we created, and it's a very simple movable wall. It's plywood, I think. I hope that's the right translation, sorry. And we just put wallpaper on it. So we just went to a store, bought some wallpaper that I liked, and this is the more classical stuff, and we can move those walls around. Now, on the bottom, if you can see, we actually have a strip, and we put it on there for the very simple reason we otherwise have this big gaping hole on the bottom, and that doesn't look nice. So we actually decided to do it like this. Any more questions, Annemiek?
No, that's it for now.
Okay. I also...
Sorry, I have another one.
Okay, yes? So we have another question.
There's a lot of contrast in her face. I can't compensate that with putting the flash closer, but how do I do that without overlighting her face?
Okay, overlighting her face, again, very simple, use a light meter. With a light meter, you will never overexpose her face. Very simple. If you use small flash, sometimes, Annemiek, is it going okay with the cameras? Or do I have to help?
Yeah, well, de onderding.
Oh, don't.
Okay.
Don't even try.
It's okay.
Yeah, don't do any funky shots. So what we have to do is when you are compensating for lighting, if you put light very close to somebody's model, you will have a lot of light output. So that means you have to change your aperture. If you don't, it will overexpose. The thing is, which you probably struggle with, if she has clothing and you put your light too close to the model, the clothing will actually have no detail at all because it will be dark, because there's light fall off. This is when you start using actually light in light. So you use one light on her face and you use another light source that's much broader, so bigger, move it further away, and that will open up the shadows. And that will give you a totally different look, and I think that's actually what will help you a lot. Okay, I'm turning on the Skyport now and the camera, and I hope that everything works. There we go. Okay, Steffi is actually back. She isn't my intern anymore, but she said, you know what, I don't want to miss Digital Classroom, and I miss you guys, so I'm back. And we were going like, okay, that's awesome, because we love Steffi, right, Anouk?
Yeah, we do.
And we also love Daisy. That's her sister. And they really look alike, although some people claim not. Okay, if you set it up. You rock, girl. Can you see through the grid?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Hey, you do speak English.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Now, for this one, of course, we do need a light meter. So I'm going to grab my meter very quickly. There we go. And Lois, can you stand against the wall again? I love models against the wall because I love those shadows. And we always ask the models, can you see through the grid? And that's very simple. Oh, I just realized something. We used it the previous workshop. We used these on delayed settings. So I have to make sure that we're off. There we go. Default. Okay, now what is a delayed setting? You know, second shutter curtain with your normal camera and your small flash. It means actually that normally your strobe will go off at the start of the exposure, but with second shutter curtain, it will actually go off at the end of the exposure. For a recent workshop, we actually used something with motion, so the strobes were still put on delayed. So I had to put that on the right setting. Okay, so are you ready, Lois? You are, right? Okay, so now with the light meter, everything becomes way more easier. I'm going to go very close here and let me see. Anouk, do you have the light meter in frame?
Yes.
Okay. So you see 8.03 on the light meter. And 8.03, this is where a lot of confusion comes from. What you will actually get is that people will put their camera on f8 and it's always the blame on the light meter. It doesn't look right. It's overexposed. It's always overexposed, and that's the weird thing. It's always overexposed, and I will tell you why. That 0.3 isn't there for a joke. It's not like the light meter is going like, you know what, just put a number there. Let's drive them nuts. It's there for a reason. Now, your camera works in 1/3 of an f-stop. Your light meter, best way, is set up in full f-stops, meaning f8 to f11. That's a full f-stop. Now here you're going like, okay, but on the camera, I don't go from f8 to f11. I go from f8 to f9 to f10 to f11. That's why I always take that one, because it's a very easy step. And that's 100% true. And that's because the light meter gives you tenths, but the camera works in thirds. Now, the cool thing is, you can use that to your advantage. Because if the light meter tells you f8.3, it actually means f8, one click up, so that means f9. Or if it says f8.6, it's another click up. So what happens when it tells you 8.4? That's actually 8.3, so that's f9, and 1/10 of an f-stop extra. And now comes into play, turn down the light 1/10 of an f-stop. Now if you're outside, you can't do that, right? You can't turn down lights. So outside you always have to realize, what is my model wearing? If the model is wearing a white dress, you better underexpose a little bit. So instead of going to f9, you go to f10. You're underexposing by 2/10 of an f-stop, but that's okay. Now, if the model is wearing black and she's dark-skinned, you can actually shoot on f9 and you're overexposing a little bit. It's only 1/10 of an f-stop, but you have to be smart with that. So that's the explanation of this. So let's shoot this on f8.3, which actually translates to f9. Oh, Lois, you look awesome. Yep. Oops. Let me make sure that I don't break my neck before a live audience. Let's do that in private. Okay, let's set the camera up for this. And f9. Okay, Lois, there we go. So this is the difference between what we just saw with the Frank Doro flash bender and a beauty dish. Now, as you can see, the beauty dish gives you a different quality of light. It's a little bit more broad, and it's because it's round, and the beauty dish is, of course, aiming the light at our model. And when you saw the strip light from the Rogue, it's actually rectangular, so it really steers the light. Which one do I like more? I don't know. I like them both. But with the beauty dish, I like to do something else, and that's actually a little bit more daring now, because it's a live audience, and that's always terrifying. So let's try that. And with the beauty dish, what I love to do is actually aim it straight at our model from slightly above. Okay, Lois, can you see through the grid?
Yes.
Straight through? You can see the lamp? Is this better?
Oh, yeah.
This is better?
Yes.
Okay. So if she looks straight through the grid, I know for sure that her eyes are actually getting the proper exposure. If she doesn't look straight through the grid and the grid is black, it means that the hotspot is probably here or there. Because if you look straight through the grid, you're in the hotspot. Very simple trick. Questions, Annemiek?
Yeah, there's a question about the light meter.
Yes.
If your light meter can be set to 0.3 steps, isn't that easier since the camera works on that also?
No. Don't put your light meter on 1/3 f-stop. And I will explain to you why. If you put it on 1/3 of an f-stop, it can be incredibly confusing. Because 5.6, 8, 11 are the full f-stops. Do you know what's in between? Some people do. Some people don't. 6.5, 7.1, f8. I know sometimes. Sometimes I also forget because I remember the full f-stops. Now imagine if you're not 100% secure with your light meter and your camera, which most people aren't. And you see on your light meter, you see 5.6.2. What do? You panic. Some light meters, if you put it on 1/3 of an f-stop, don't even show you the point series, but they just show you underneath, like, okay, you're a little bit underexposed or a little bit overexposed. That doesn't work either. Some cameras, and check it at home and leave the comments below. Some cameras don't have an f13, but have an f14. Like my medium format camera doesn't have 13, it has 14. So imagine shooting f13 on the light meter, and you go to your camera, and there is no f13. So what do? Where do you set your camera on? f14, because f14 is actually f13, but it could also be, you know what I mean? So take the full f-stops. Every camera has the full f-stops, and then you can just see 0.3, 1 click up, 0.6, 2 clicks up. Everything in between, adjust the light.
There's another question.
Oh, okay, I will meter. 11.6, there we go. 11.6, so that's 11 and 2 clicks up. And we're very lucky today that everything is 0.6 and 0.3. What you can also do is, of course, use the remote control and go 6 clicks down. And now I'm on f11. So it's a really easy way to work. The other question, Annemiek. Turn on the mic.
What type of metering mode is preferred in portraits like this? Always spot metering?
Okay, what kind of metering technique is preferred? I don't spot meter. When you spot meter, you actually look through your light meter and you aim it at an object. The light meter will then give you the value for 18% gray or any other color. That means that if you shoot it on the setting that your light meter tells you, that part will be 18% gray. Now let's look at Lois. Okay. We'll be okay. One moment. Go. She's not 18% gray. In fact, she's a little bit lighter. And she doesn't feel very well, so anyway, can you help her out, please? Or Steffi? And let's bring another model in very quickly, because we also have a guest. And that's Marcel. No.
I'm not coming there.
So, can you stand?
Yes, no problem.
Introduce yourself very quickly.
Hi, I'm Michel.
And what do? You do Café Obscura, right?
I got Café Obscura, yeah.
Yeah, so he's here looking how we do our digital broadcasts. So can you stand against the wall, please, my friend? I'm always playing with him that I don't remember his name.
Always Marcel.
Yeah, Marcel or Martin or whatever. Okay, so let's... Alex, yes, I'm Alex. Okay, so let's look a little bit towards the light. Really nice. Awesome. Now with a guy, of course, you shoot a little bit more contrasty, but I also like that little bit more harsher quality, and that's actually what you see now. You get a more harsher quality of light, and as soon as you have a harsher quality of light, you will also see that certain details get more pronounced, like the beard, the eyes, and whatever. But you have to make sure that they look into the light. As soon as I tell Marcel, please look down. Why are you laughing?
It's Marcel again.
Yeah, I know. Michel, I know. I'm just kidding with you. I always tell you guys, right, you have to make your models laugh. So I know it's Michel, but when I call him Marcel, he will start laughing, and you get this really nice laughing photo. So that's really cool. So, Alex, can you please look up a little bit? To here. Really nice. Oh, Johan, you rock.
You rock.
Now I tell him all kinds of names. But we don't do name calling.
No.
Now, as soon as you see this, you see that it's incredibly low contrast. It's not really the thing that I go like, yeah, it's not why you tune into Digital Classroom. Now move around your model and look down. Nice. Now look up. Look at the difference. And now center your eyes towards here. Love it. Nice, keep it that way. I'm gonna go all the way here. And there we go. And now you have an ultra high contrast shot. So just by moving around my model, I can do all this stuff. But of course, because it's a male, I want some power in that last shot. So I want some hands there. Just roll off your sleeve, Michel. See, I can do it. And now I want that real, like almost like a boxer. And then look into the light. There we go. And on 3, just kick with your just hit with your arm forward. So 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, that's a little bit too. Try to hit my lens from here. 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. So it's just a very simple trick. Are you okay, Lois, again?
Yes.
Okay. We'll do a small commercial break, and then we'll give you a massage and make sure you feel okay. Okay, so guys, I'm going to sit behind the computer and I'm going to show you some tips, because we always also do a retouching session. And after that, we have a really cool portrait, because we want to interact with you guys. And we actually did. Online, I reached out to several groups on Facebook. What do you want to see in Digital Classroom? And somebody told me, I would love to see a high contrast portrait with light fall off. So after this, we're actually going to do that. So they're actually going to set up everything, and I'm going to go behind the computer very quickly and see what we can do with Photoshop. Are there any more questions in between, Anouk?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that first. But first, let's just switch very quickly to our commercial. And let me switch to my camera. Okay, one moment. There we go. Okay, so one of the things that you see me shooting to today is actually Capture One. Capture One is absolutely awesome, but it can be a little bit of a steep learning curve. So we actually created a video for you guys, and it's about 3 hours long, and we're going to show the whole thing now. No, we're actually going to show you the trailer. So there we go. Great shot. Hey guys, I'm Frank Doroff. I'm the writer of the best-selling book, Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, during my workshops, I get a lot of questions about people. What about raw developing? How to set my camera? Do I need Adobe RGB? Do I need sRGB? There are many questions out there. And the best thing to start with is use Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop. That's where you start. But after that, if you want a little bit more quality, if you shoot a lot of tethered setups, Capture One is actually one of the best programs out there. It isn't the best in library modes. It isn't the best in map modes. That's where we still use Lightroom. But Capture One is an awesome RAW developer. Now, what is a RAW developer and why is it important? Think about the old days when we had film. The choice of chemicals and the choice of film made a huge difference. The same film developed in different chemicals gave you totally different end result. The model was still the model, the landscape was still the same landscape, but you get more definition from one chemical. Or you get a little bit more detail or a little bit different colors. Also depending on the process. And that actually is the same thing for the new digital sensors. A digital sensor records a raw image. There's no color space attached to a raw image. It's the raw image. You have to attach a color space yourself. This is also one of the most heard problems during, for example, social media stuff. How do I set my camera? If you shoot JPEG, choose sRGB or Adobe RGB. If you shoot RAW, it doesn't matter because the RAW file is the RAW file. There's no color profile attached. That's what you do in your RAW converter as soon as you go to JPEG or TIFF. And most workflows, of course, will be TIFF 16 bits because then you have a lot of stuff to work with. And then you can use the bigger color spaces. But hey, I'm getting way ahead of this stuff. I don't want to teach you too much because this is a promo for a new video I created. Now, next to Lightroom, one of the most famous and best known RAW developers is, of course, Capture One. And Capture One has had a turbulent experience for me. It started when I shot medium format, I needed Capture One. And now when I shoot Sony and even when I shot Canon, I quickly found out that the raw developing of Capture One was awesome. But a lot of people have a lot of questions about how does it work? With Lightroom I know how everything works, but how does it work in Capture One? And that's why we created this video for you guys. It's a total walkthrough about how I set up Capture One to work with Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop because those are still my main programs. Capture One is used for raw developing and it does such an amazing job at that. So check out the video on Capture One raw developing workflow from me, Frank Doroff. And I'm sure if you have any questions about Capture One, they will be answered in that video. Okay, and we're back, and this camera I also adjusted. That's why we need those commercial breaks. Of course, we need them to help our sponsors and our own videos and to check things in between, because I heard that my audio sometimes crackled. So I hope we fixed that one. And of course, the exposure on this camera. Okay, let's do some questions very quickly. Let me see. Looks awesome again. Thank you so very much. Oh, Lois looks awesome. Well, okay. Do you have all your models sign a model release, and are there any situation you wouldn't have a model release signed? Love your work. Yes, Mark, we always have a model release, and the reason is very simple. I don't want models to change anything about the photo. So the photos are as they are. And if they want to change it to black and white, they can just ask me, and I will do it for them. That's no problem at all. But I don't want them to do it by themselves. So that's actually why we do that. Okay, nice to see Steffi back. Yes, I know. She's awesome. Okay, if you like me, the can be said, okay, that's... Do you always turn off the modeling lights when shooting with a beauty disc or softbox or with a grid or without? Or do you need modeling lights to meter? The modeling lights you don't use to meter. The modeling lights are there to give you an idea of how the shot will look. So the modeling lights will have no interference on your light metering. That's the strobe. They're totally independent from each other. The modeling light is just there to show you shadow fall, and it makes placing a little bit more easier because you see what you do. That's also why normally in the studio you need a darker studio. And in our case, because we have all those LED panels on, from Let Go by the way, because we have all those LED panels on, it's a little bit more difficult to see the modeling lights, so we actually turn them off at the moment. We don't turn them off, you just don't see them. Okay, let me see if we have any more questions. Frank is funny. Thank you so much, Fred and Ineke. And we have some questions on Facebook. There we go. Okay, somebody said I meant metering settings on the camera. Okay, this is what when they asked me, do you use spot metering or something else? And I misunderstood. I thought that they meant spot metering in the studio. In the camera, your camera is set up also for reflective metering, meaning your camera will always determine 18% gray. And we'll just do it, 18% gray, 18% gray, 18% gray all the way. And this is something that normally makes a lot of sense, because if you look in nature and you add all the lighting sources up to each other, you will get approximately 18% gray, because in the curve, 18% gray is actually middle gray. So you have a nice balance between your light areas and your darker areas, making a proper exposure. Now, when you do a model, you could argue, but normally just look at your scene. If the scene is a little bit dark, you can always overexpose just a little bit by exposure compensation. If your setup is a little bit too light, you just underexpose. At one point, you will start seeing it. You will see the light. See the light, guys. So anyway, if there's any Yngwie Malmsteen fans out there, that made sense. If there aren't any Yngwie Malmsteen fans out there, that was actually pretty terrifying. I'm so sorry. Especially if you look this on a projector. I can imagine that if I come this close on a projector, oh my, that's terrible. Anyway, so on the camera you have to just wing it and just know it from experience. And the cool thing, by the way, is that it's very easy to explain. If you look at a snowman in a snowstorm, that's all white, right? So you overexpose. If you look at a black cat in a black mine, in a dark mine, that's actually all dark. So you you're underexposed because your camera will make 18% gray. So that's very easy to remember, that little thing. Like snow, I have to overexpose. If it's really dark, I have to underexpose. Okay, Norshanushi, hello. How spot metering affects reading on different skin tones. And that's why you don't do spot metering on models. You never, ever, come closer, never, ever do spot metering on a model. And why not? Very simple to explain. When I was oh my, now something hits me. When I was really close to Lois to investigate if she was 18% gray, that's the moment where she almost fainted and where we had to get another model. By the way, she's fine now. I think I came too close in a week. Did I shower this month?
Yes, you did.
I did, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I did shower, so that was not a problem. I brushed my teeth like 3 weeks ago, so that could also not be the problem. And I only had garlic 6 times. I don't know. Probably she ate too little. I'm just kidding, guys. So, but she didn't feel well. That's why we changed models very quickly. This is also something. Don't ever panic. If there was something really going wrong, we would have stopped the broadcast, of course. But we guessed that she was okay. And she is. She will continue, I hope. Okay, so that spot metering, don't do it. Why do we use spot metering? We want to make sure that something doesn't overexpose or underexpose. Then we use spot metering because it gives you that value of 18% gray. You know that if you meter something and you get that value, and there's a simple trick. I also explained it in my book and several instructional videos. If you overexpose by 2.5 stops, everything will get white. If you underexpose by 4.5 stops, everything will get dark. So if you know I'm shooting on f11, and you see that the sky has a certain value, you know if there's detail in the sky. So that's why spot metering is awesome for that kind of stuff. And no more questions. Let me see what type of metering preferred. Okay. I'm in success. Okay. We really need success with our internet because it's absolutely horrendous. That's the frustrating part, by the way. We have on our side, everything works. Everything's fine. It's the internet. So if there's somebody out there, a sponsor, hello. If you want to sponsor us with great internet, let us know. We're way open for discussions. Okay, let's switch over to my computer and let's see what we can do. Okay, there we have Michel. Awesome model. Really. He should come more often as a model. Really nice. Okay. So, the first thing I always do is I make sure that all my files have the proper naming. And as you can see here, they don't. So the first thing I have to do is make sure that I select all my files and actually rename them Lois. Now I'm using Capture One, but don't worry, it's exactly the same in all the other software. Like Lightroom works the same thing. But Capture One is just a little bit faster with this kind of stuff. Okay, so I do the same thing in Lightroom. I have this custom setup, so I have a job name, 4-digit counter, and image date. So I only have to type in Lois with a space, and it will actually create Lois 001, February 8, 2017, and that saves me a lot of hassle, especially if you do something with several dates in one set. Like, for example, a 2-day wedding or 3-day wedding, etc. Okay, so let's go through the images. Now, the first thing I always do is delete immediately what I don't like. So this one will go. And let me see why that doesn't. Ah, there we go. Okay, this one is okay, but not good enough. I like this one for a very strange reason. No. This one is okay. No, I don't see both eyes, too dark. This is okay. Now, okay images I don't delete. No. Now that's talking, girl. Wow. Give that a 5 stars. I'm not going to retouch that probably during the broadcast. Here, too much shadow on her face. So I'm also explaining to you guys why, because of course we do this every month and sometimes there can be repeated areas, but I do want to explain to you guys why I delete something. Like here, I love this, but here it's just a little bit too tight. Okay, this one I like. I see both cat slides, so that's okay. Now I have to tell you guys, we have a slight delay between my computer and what I tell you guys. So if I go too fast, just imagine that my screen is a little bit lagging. So if you go like I saw the cat slides in that one, that's okay. That's because it's a little bit later. Okay, we have cat slides in the eyes, but I don't really like the shot. And take it out, you know, it's not that they're not worth any money, so they only cost money if you keep them on your hard drive. Okay, composition was not right. I like this one. I like the shadow over here. It really incorporates nice with her overall look. This one, her hand is actually over here. And that's what I don't like in the shot. It's a little bit too much up and I don't see the end. It's like she has a half arm, so take that one out. Now you see my own face probably, or is that, I don't know. So I like the shot, but I miss her second arm. So I'm gonna keep it, but not much. Okay, I like to laugh, but it's not really. This was actually where I started coaching her bed, and those are the fun shots. That's really weird. But again, that's because she knows that I don't mean it. Okay, this one is okay. Let's go a little bit faster. Okay, okay. Love this one. This is really nice. Now I tell you why. Look at the S-curves. From her leg to her chest to her face. This is a perfect S-curve. Love that shot. And that's actually what you immediately see. If you really like a shot, it's often those S-curves. And the more perfect they are, the better it is. This one is a little bit too dark. We could fix it, but doesn't make any sense. This one, same. Look at the curves. Wow. Love this one. The only thing is the hand over here. And we already got a perfect one, so... Okay, like this one too, but you see this? It looks a little bit like an M2G. And you don't want that, so no. Okay, this is too much from the front for me, but it's an okay shot. This one is better, so let's take that one out. I believe this is where we switch to the beauty dish. If you tune in later. Love the way that the model looks down. Now, often people say, oh, that's not sharp, so let's take that one out. This is sharp. Okay. This is where I move the model away from the background. The close-ups are okay, but not powerful enough. This one is okay. No. It's for me, it's all about expression. I really want that expression to be powerful and to really jump out. Love this. It's okay, but not good enough. Too dark. I don't like the pose here. It's very compact, as you can see. This one is cool if C would have had cat slides. You see, guys, what I mean? There's no cat slides there, so that's what I don't like about that shot. This is nice, like she's holding a gun and it's sharp. Sometimes I have to double check my focus. This one is okay, I can see the hand. I don't like the pose per se, but I don't want to remove it. The shadow cast I don't like. This one is way better. This one I really like. Really nice curves. The legs are nice. I like that the megaphone is still in there. This one is okay. It's not like the other ones I gave 5 stars, but it's pretty close. I don't like that one. This one is okay, but I would have liked to see a little bit more of the megaphone. Sorry, guys. No. This is where we actually started doing the beauty dish. Now you can also see why you have to shoot color checkers. The light is different on the beauty dish. You see that? More yellowish. And I didn't shoot a color checker now, but this is why those are so incredibly important. Now, this is Lois after she grew a beard. It's actually Michel. So let's give that one 5 stars. Michel, of course, gets all 5 stars. There you go. Love this shot. This one is actually pretty cool. Gonna do there a little, do a little trick with that one. And this one is nice. Okay, so gonna do a little trick with that one too. Okay, so let me first go back. Now I always go through the images second time to see if I really still like the shots. And I got 3 from Lois and 3 from Michel. That's not bad, Michel. You did very well. So the first thing I do is when I look at the shots from Michel, I really like this nice and dark area around it, and this one I like. Now this, I didn't participate, him hitting me, so I didn't mind the lighting there too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, but I'm not going to go into Photoshop. This you can also do in Lightroom, and you can do that with the adjustment brush. In Capture One you can just create a new layer, select a brush. I'm actually going to paint this in. I'm using a soft brush, and I don't want to open it up too much, just a little bit. There we go. So now before and after, don't overdo this, just a very, very tiny bit, and it's actually a little bit too much even at the moment. There we go. His eyes are a little bit too dark. So I'm going to show you that you don't per se need to go to Photoshop for this kind of stuff. So just create a new layer. Make the brush smaller. I'm going to use a little bit of a dodge and burn technique inside Capture One. Just open up the irises just a little bit. There we go. Add a little bit of contrast. Then do the exposure again until you see what you like. Add maybe a little, ooh, that's scary. A little bit more shadow, and there you go. And again, in Lightroom, you can use the adjustment brush for this. Nice. And of course, now I want a little bit more power from the crop. Now with action, I always shoot wide. And it means that I will never ever close in on my model. Normally I'm a big fan of shooting in camera, so in other words crop in camera. But in the case of action or movement I never do this because I never know how the shot will turn out. Maybe he will move another way. Okay, and I'm going to use a preset on this one. I'm going to go to built-in styles and I'm going to go, I want to make this black and white. I think that's awesome for this kind of shot. Now normally this goes way faster, but because I'm also screencasting, my computer is getting a little bit of a bump. Love this one. Okay, don't like the grain that much, so I can always turn the grain down. And we actually, oops, didn't mean to do that. And let's turn the grain down. There we go. Let me see if I like this. Yes, this is nice. There's just a hinge of grain. And I like this in all his shots. So what I do is I select all shots. And of course, without the layers, I just do copy and apply adjustments. And let me see if I can turn on the layers. Okay, local adjustments, I don't want that. There we go, and apply. Oh, it did do the crop. In this case, it's okay. And here it's too much. So let's just undo the crop. Oh. There we go. Okay, so we're already done with Michel. And I actually like the close-up here, so that's a lucky guess. Okay, now we have Lois left. And for Lois, I really like this shot. I think it's a little bit too hot on her face, and that's because we shot it with small strobes. And of course, you can pull down the exposure, but if you already are there, why not just do the highlights? Only turn down the highlights just a little bit on her face. There we go. Now what I do is I always do all the shots at once. The reasoning behind this is actually very, very simple. Then I see them next to each other, and this is before I'm in Photoshop. So if I now in Photoshop determine a certain look, there's no problem at all because all the images look exactly the same. And you see, we should have used color checker there. Okay, let's just do one so you guys can get a little bit of a feel of what we do. Okay, so let's take this one into Photoshop. Let me see if there are any more questions in between. Cafe Obscura has a question. Frank, can I give you $1 million and you continue? Yes, Michel, no problem. You can get that shot for $1 million. Okay, Fred and Ineke, I asked you about one click to the different social media. You mentioned it will be in behind the closed door. Saw the video twice but could not discover it. Okay, that's weird. Let me first switch back to my camera, by the way. It's a little bit nicer than just looking at a screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, so social media and relinking. And I think I actually did this in behind the closed doors, but I don't remember. There is a software package out there that's called Magenta River. And magenta is in the color and then river as in the water. And in the past it did like 4 or 5 social media networks. Nowadays it only does 1 or 2. And the other option, and that's way better, is If This Then That. If This Then That is a small app you can also put on your iPhone or your Android or your computer, and you create different recipes. For example, if this happens, then do this. And that means if you post something on Facebook, put it on Facebook pages, put it on Google+, or put it on Twitter. So those are the 2 options that I really like and which I also use. I use Magenta River for 1 or 2, and then I use If This Then That for the rest. Because, hey, I'm Dutch, I'm not going to pay for anything like that. Ian McDonald, hey Frank, do you ever use the same props more than once? Yes, without a doubt, but not too much. Are you gonna be near Michigan in the future, Mark? Probably will fly over it someday, but I don't think we're in the neighborhood. We are on April 30th. We are in New Jersey with Nadine for a workshop. And we only have 3-4 seats left. Yeah. So that's filling up rather fast, so make sure you don't miss that one. And that's the same for Constant Photography. Will you be coming back to the USA soon? Yes, and after that I don't know if I can come back for the next 4 or 8 years. I hope 4 years. Because maybe they also will determine that if the Netherlands is part 2, we're not allowed anymore. So, I don't know. That's an inside joke, guys. I'm not politically inclined, but no, don't even go there. Let me see. So, yes, we are at Photoshop World in April and also in New Jersey. So that's the US for that. Johan, is there a cheap way to darken a studio with big windows? I now use a black background roll to stick on the windows, but there's still a lot of ambient light coming soon. Yes, there is a very, very simple way, and that's called a paint. And you just paint the windows. Another way is, of course, use cardboard or wood. Just put wood in front of the windows or cardboard or whatever, and it should work. Or you can also use very big curtains, black, of course. Okay, those are all the questions. And we are already in Photoshop, so let's switch back to my computer again. Okay. Let me see where Photoshop went. And we are not in Photoshop. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Sorry, guys. I have to put in the right recipe. Now in Capture One, these are the recipes, and I selected the wrong one. Okay, so here we have Lois, and here we have a background that doesn't do what I want to do. Now, normally with normal backgrounds that are not like this, so how do I explain it? With Seamless, we actually extend the background with a very simple trick. We use a rectangular marquee tool, like this, and we do Edit, Transform, Scale. And we just drag it out. And with this, it even works. That's okay. Yeah, why not? Nah. No, it doesn't look nice. So, okay. Now, nowadays with content-aware fill, you can actually do this. And just select this, and now press the delete or backspace button, backspace, and do content-aware fill, color adaptation you can leave on, blending normal, and just press OK. Now, in most cases, this will work wonders. And in this case, let me go to 100%. This is magic. Wow. I am lucky. And we get a lottery ticket. We have to make use of this. In a week.
Yeah, I will.
Get a lottery ticket now. Don't wait.
I'll buy it online.
Okay, buy it online now. Do we have it?
Yeah, we got it.
We got it? Okay, so now I'm gonna try the other one. Knowing me, that will fail considerably, and that will actually put my mother-in-law or something in there. So let's do this. Let's see what happens. And we get 2 lottery tickets.
You're in lucky mood.
This is insane. Wow. Okay, one moment. You know that content-aware fill is actually magic? This is freaking awesome because this never happened. Normally, when I do backgrounds like this, it does copy the patterns, okay, but it's always like, it isn't okay. I think the trick is that it's a little bit out of focus. So it actually copies that very well. Adobe, you rock. Absolutely awesome. Okay, so let's get back. Cool. Love it. That's how it's supposed to be. Okay, now the second thing I always do is I will go into my model and I will actually take the healing brush, and a lot of people ask me about this. How do I get it like that? And it's actually done here. So actually move it around, and then I will just sample and just take that part out. Make sure I soften a little bit of the shadows here and a little bit here. And Lois has a perfect skin, and what you never do in a model with perfect skin, and I repeat, never use filters. If you don't need filters, don't use filters, because you will only make it worse. And there we go. You don't need to do anything else. Now there's a little bit of an annoyance here. What I will try to do, and I will show you a cool little trick that can really save your life when you're on a laptop on the road. Create, instead of what a lot of people do, they create a duplicate layer and they start cloning on that duplicate layer. Don't. What you do is you say layer, new empty layer. There we go. Now what you do is you take your your healing brush and you make sure that you do all layers. And now you take this out. I always call this massaging the problem away, because you're not doing it like a cloning, but you're literally taking a soft approach to taking it out. There we go. And now you can see before and after. Looks a little bit better. Now what did I do? I actually did this. The cool thing about this trick is that normally your file size will double if you use this layer as a duplicate. So your file size will go from 226 megabytes to 450. But because I'm only cloning on a small part, it will actually be only like 4 megabytes, this part. So that saves you a tremendous amount of hard drive space, especially if you save all your files with layers intact. Okay. The only thing I now have to do is tint my image, because I love to tint my images. And why do I do that? I don't know. I just love the way that they look after tinting. And my favorite program for that is without a doubt Alien Skin Exposure 2. It's opening up on my second monitor. One moment, guys. So let's move it here. Okay. And I will just go through my presets and I'll just see which one I really like. I always call this the clickety click until I see what I like stuff. Oh, love this one. Makes it a little bit more darker and more evil. A little bit more like, what's the name of that movie with the vampires? Underworld? Yeah. I don't like the how do you call it? The grain. So let's turn the grain off. There we go. And I think it's a little bit too dark. So let's just open that up just a little bit. There we go. So before and after. Nice. And apply. Now if you think I like the face before better, it's no problem at all, because Photoshop has this really cool option where you can do a layer mask, reveal all, show everything. You see a white piece of paper, you take a black brush, and you can actually bring the face back. There we go. See that? Cool. Okay, now I want to enhance this a little bit. And I want to enhance this. Now, I'm a little bit too sloppy, guys, sorry. Let's take this back a notch. There we go. What I'm doing is I'm getting my lightness back a little bit. So I think it was a little bit too dark for my taste. There you go. Now if you mess up, oops, you can always just switch your colors, and of course there are short keys, in this case the X key. And now I have a white brush and I can actually paint it back again. Okay, so layer flatten image, and now I want to make this shine a little bit more. So take my dodge tool and I have it on highlights, make it a little bit bigger, and now I make those highlights really stand out. There we go. Oh, by the way, let me do something really fast. Do you guys want to see something really naughty? Something that you shouldn't do, but that's freaking awesome, and we sometimes do it with our interns. And now they actually know, so I can't do it anymore. If you go into your Photoshop and you go to File, of course, Edit, and you go to Preferences, you can do some cool stuff, but in your menus, you can also change some stuff. So let's see. There we go. Okay, so you all know that certain tools are really great, right? Like we all use the Save and we all use the Open. The thing is that in Photoshop, you see these eyes? Okay, watch this. So if I now do File, I can do a new file and I can open a file. Okay. Now if you want to drive somebody really nuts, you go into File and you do New, Open, Open As. And of course you're also going to do Close All. Save you can't do anymore. Thank you, Adobe. That's not nice. And now you press OK. Now the next time somebody is behind your computer, can you make a new file? Okay, no problem. Okay, one moment. Okay, can you make a new file? And it's gone. So that's not very nice, of course, but you can do way more stuff. That's really not nice. And I can do it on this one because I don't have it set up for this, but I do want to show you very quickly. Now under scripts, you can do some stuff, especially with the scripts event manager. For example, you can run actions that if something happens, like for example, you open up a new file. So let's say script, and if you do a new document, then you have to do a script, like for example, change everything or resize or warn if RGB or welcome, or you can create your own stuff here. So for example, you could set something up that if somebody creates a new document, Photoshop closes. Or if somebody picks a brush with white, actually that doesn't work because it doesn't work. Okay, so I want to show you one more and then we'll get serious again. Now we all know the picker, right? So if you go here, you will know this one. You just have to do this or this, and nobody will ever know that it's normally on H because normally you don't look at that. Now on the Mac there's a really cool option where you go into preferences and you actually go into your, let me see, into your general, and you can change the color picker size. So color picker Adobe, and in Windows, let me see how that looks because I never tried it on Windows. Oh, that's also cool. So you're back and now you can actually tell people they forgot to pay their Creative Cloud subscription, so you're slowly going back to Windows XP. So they will probably not believe you, but anyway. Okay, general, make sure that you put it back. Sometimes I also forget. Okay, so we've done this shot. And I think it's time for the next setup. But first, Anna told me we have some questions. So let's do that first.
Meanwhile, there's a lot of questions.
Oh, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do them fast because I don't want to spend too much time in question mode. Okay, Anna, what's the first question?
Well, this one is, I think, a lot of a problem people struggle with. Sometimes in Photoshop, when I converting to black and white images, the images get bluish starings around the shadow areas. What can I do to avoid that?
Okay. First of all, did you turn on the mic? Okay. First of all, what you have to realize is that always calibrate your monitor, because if you want to see a real black and white, your monitor should be calibrated correctly. Now, what is correctly? Always calibrate on D6500. So 6500 degrees Kelvin. The other thing that could be a problem is color space. If you look on an sRGB monitor and you work in Pro Photo, that won't work because it's a huge color space and you just compress it down. On an Adobe RGB monitor, it will work, but it's not perfect. The other thing is, if you use a bigger color space like Adobe RGB or Pro Photo RGB, and you do a lot of stuff in your file, and you are in 8 bits, and this is the most important thing because a lot of times Photoshop standard is on 8 bits. So you are going into Photoshop from Lightroom in Tiff, but it's set on 8 bits. And 8 bits is like 265 things to play with. And you're very quickly bored with 265 things. So if you do a curve or whatever, you're already down to maybe half of what you can actually do with that file. So if you make it black and white with this rather intense conversion, a lot of people don't realize that, but it is, you don't have any more bits left. So make sure you're in a 16 bits setting, preferably Adobe RGB 16 bits. Now, if that 16 bits is there and you still have those weird artifacts, make sure you are in a proper color space. So not camera raw, but literally Adobe RGB or sRGB. And then it should be okay. So drop me an email if you test that and if that indeed worked. More questions, Annemiek.
I don't really get this question. It's from Renee Tautel. Why do you often shoot landscape, Frank? Personal preference, or is there another reason?
There's another reason. I love landscape photography, but I'm incredibly lazy. I don't want to get up early in the morning, so I compensate by shooting all my portraits in landscape mode. And now serious. Somehow, I just love the landscape mode look. When I shoot portraits, I always feel that there's something missing. It's only about the model, and it's not about everything that's besides the model or on the other side. So, most of all, I just love the way that I can make more use of my space when I shoot it in landscape. So I really love that. Okay, let me see. I have a question over here. Hello, Frank. Nice to see you on the screen. Have you a prefer for color checker for different formats and suppliers? I use the X-Rite color checkers. In my opinion, those are the best. They're really durable and we really love them. So this is, and I have to be honest, I'm an ambassador Colorati for X-Rite, but I'm a Colorati for a reason. The software is incredibly handy. There's a plugin in Lightroom. You don't have to do anything. And I know from the other ones there's also a plugin, but this is also one that we really use a lot. And this is actually to check your focus for your camera and a white balance. And if you open up the other side, this is actually the one for video. I have to cut down on the Coca-Cola because I'm talking too fast. And with this one, with video, we can actually set a clipping point for black, medium gray, and pure white. So we use zebras, so we know that our exposure is okay. Now during digital classroom, we are a little bit sloppy with our cameras, but during our instructional videos, we use this on all our cameras to make sure that they're all looking the same. But with digital classroom, we use, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras, and they're all different brands. So if a brand is listening and they want to give us cameras, come on guys, please. Okay, any more questions? Let me see. I'm going to go to the questions a little bit faster. So, off topic, I do have to say that I like your vlog and inspirational series. Oh, thank you so very much. About behind the closed doors, by the way, we really work our asses off on that part. Because we started out by just showing you guys behind the scenes with a very simple 1080p camera, so full HD. And we switched over to 4K, and we're actually gonna get probably the A6500 for that show. And yeah, it went totally out of control. We wanted to do it really simple, but we thought, you know what? Some people will judge you on what they see, and they will only remember the worst part. And behind the closed doors was the worst thing we did in quality-wise. It was cool to see, but it was worse in quality. So we really stepped up the ante. And tonight's episode, you're gonna freaking love this one. We're actually going up in the air. Okay, not really in the air, but we're going to use drones. So that's really nice to see. Okay, Johan, when the background was in focus and you would use content to have fill, it often smudges. Yes, that's what I meant. So normally it won't work that much. I'm going to do that on my friend's computer next time. Don't, dude. I have way better stuff, so just email me and then you will love that stuff. Let me see. I don't know. I don't get this kind of stuff. Alira Shemirshat, hi. And I don't know if that's a real person. I hope so. Why do you use Tiff and not PSD? I think that's from the past when I started out with photography. I know Tiff was the standard and PSD was from Adobe, and I didn't use Adobe products that much, so I always used Tiff. And then when I started to do Photoshop more intensely, I always thought that PSD was more of the Photoshop stuff. Now nowadays everything changed. Like even on the desktop, you can see your RAW files. When I started out with PCs, you couldn't see your RAW files. You needed AC/DC viewer, otherwise your RAW files would just be like icons. And nowadays you can just select a few, press the space bars, and you can see it. So a lot of things have changed. I think if I would give you an advice at the moment, I would still say Tiff. But if you want to do it with PSD, no problem at all, because most software nowadays also read PSD. So yeah, go for it. Let me see. Any more questions? No. Annemiek, do you have questions on Facebook?
No.
Then I have something cool for you. In April, we are going to the States. And why are we going to the States? We're going to go to one of the biggest, coolest, most awesomeness conventions in the world, and that is Photoshop World. Now, why is Photoshop so incredibly cool? Because in 3 or 4 days you got taught by, is that a proper expression? You know what I mean. You get the best teachers in the world, and I'm so honored and so grateful that I'm one of the guys that can teach you there. We're actually now going for the 12th time in a row, Annemiek, or 11th time in a row. 11. And this time I'm also going to do a pre-con, and that's, of course, a bigger honor. So make sure you check out Photoshop World, and I'm going to show you this very quickly. Scott sent me this. Can you show this during Digital Classroom? And for Scott, we do everything.
I've been here 4 times. I continue to learn new and fabulous things about photography and Photoshop and Lightroom.
If you come here with one thing on your mind, you're probably going to end up leaving with interest in other areas.
You want to stay in the know and stay on the cutting edge. This is the place to do it.
Anyone that has a passion for creative things, photography, design, they attend Photoshop World.
Hey guys, Frank here with a little service announcement. You know I love to teach photography workshops, right? I love to work with groups and just talk about photography, make some great images and make magic happen. Now, according to some people, when Nadine and I work together, the real magic happens. And well, I kind of agree because she's amazing and she has great styling and she's a great personality and an awesome model, of course. So normally we work together a lot in our studio in Emmeloord and of course in the UK tour. Now one of the workshops that's absolutely the highlight of the year for us is the Ultimate Weekend. We actually do those twice a year. But they're normally in our studio. It's a 2-day extravaganza workshop totally filled with information about business, duo shoots, outside, inside, retouching. We take you out for dinner. There's a lot going on. On February 24th and 25th, we have another Ultimate Weekend in our studio in Emmeloord, of course with Nadine and 2 other models, because we're also going to do duo shoots and it's 2 days. Now, a lot of people ask me like, okay, but you teach that workshop in Emmeloord, and normally when you travel around, you only do 1-day workshops. Okay, we listened. On June 10 and 11th, we'll be in Amersham, that's close to London. And I will be there with Nadine for an Ultimate Weekend. Nadine is also going to join us to Photoshop World in Orlando. Now, Photoshop World, of course, is already a great show. But now that I have Nadine with me, we're going to do so much more. We're going to talk about styling. We're going to do how to pose your model. We're going to make some amazing shots on stage. And well, she's even going to do the pre-con with me. So if you're in doubt about going to Photoshop World, I hope this will push you over because Photoshop World, in my opinion, is without a doubt the best learning experience you can have. It's 3 days, actually 4 if you count the pre-cons, that are so jam-packed with information. You will go home with, well, your mind will be blown without any doubt. There's so much talent there. And right after Photoshop World, in a week, Nadine and I will be traveling to New York. And we're going to do a workshop there on April 30th. In the studio of a good friend of us, Neil van Nieuwkerk. And that's an amazing studio because it has roof access, a really gritty area and a really cool inside studio location. So again there, a 1-day workshop. But this time all about styling, posing your model, getting that amazing shot and so much more. I can teach a lot, but when you combine that with a great and creative stylist, we can do so much more. So don't miss that workshop. It's going to be absolutely awesome. And I don't know if Nadine, of course, will ever travel with us to the States again. So this might be your only chance. Of course, we're also going to be in Belgium, Germany, and a lot of other locations. So make sure you check out my site. There's a menu on the left on frankdorff.com. And there you can see all the special workshops. And we'll be adding those over the years. But these are the workshops I want to bring to your attention at the moment. So make sure you book one of those if you don't want to miss out on a great learning experience. Thank you so very much. See you on the road. Okay, so we're live again. Now for the next setup I'm going to do something that actually somebody asked me during a normal call we put out on Facebook. Now if you have a Facebook group that's interested in photography, make sure that you reach out to us. And during Digital Classroom we always look for stuff to do because it's once a month and we do a lot of this kind of stuff. So I always want to do more stuff for you guys. So make sure you check out online. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, of course, and then I can do some more stuff for you guys. So this one was a question: how do you get high contrast portraiture with simple modifiers? And we're going to use one square softbox and one incredibly cool model. And our model, of course, is Lois. Press the right button, Frank. There we go. Hello, Lois. Hello. So Lois is fine again, right? Yeah. All the tension was too much. Okay, so let's see what we can do. So we have this really small softbox, and it's actually an old Prolinka. Ooh. Not spiderwebs, guys, don't worry. It's, ooh. No, not. Okay, so let's first start out with far away. So we are now far away, and of course we're going to use a light meter first, because this is normal strobes. So we're going to use the light meter, and let's see what happens. I will keep away from you now.
Okay.
11.5. So 11.5 means F11 and 5/10 of an f-stop. So we're going to down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now an F11. Okay, so grab the camera, turn on the skyport, and we're going to go to F11. There we go. Oh, by the way, in case you wonder why I'm using this, it's very simple. We use tether tools, and tether tools is awesome for... I still have that stuff on my hand. There we go. Tether tools is awesome for tethering solutions, and one of their solutions is actually the jerk stopper. And the jerk stopper is something you have to buy if you shoot tethered, for the very simple reason those ports are very, very fragile. If you jank out your cable, your port is done. It's over 600 euros, and it's not a good thing. With the jerk stopper, you have tension release. So that means that you actually can stand on your cable and you won't destroy the port. That went right for about 600, 700, 800 times. It happens a lot during workshops that I stand on my cable and I feel, oh, okay. And I get my feet off the cable, or one of my students. It went wrong about 2 weeks ago. I was going from the floor, going up, and there was so much tension that actually the camera dropped on the floor and I broke my sun hood, I broke my camera. So Sony was very nice for us to repair it. And I learned, I'm now actually using this elastic wrap that you can actually, if I now drop my camera, I won't show it because of course when I show it, it goes wrong, but it will actually stay on my hand so it won't fall down. Okay, so there we go. F11, really nice. Far away shot. And you get something like this. Now I know some people will go like, that's pretty good. I really like that shot. Oh, it's in black and white. That's awesome. That was not the idea. Anouk, do you know how Capture One works?
Yes.
Okay, can you go with the mouse to settings and then reset adjustments? So to adjustments, no, up in the menu. In the menu, adjustments, and then reset adjustments. And then reset adjustments. There we go. Okay, so this is how it normally looks. Pretty flat lighting. It's okay, but it's not the way that we want it. So first let's fix the color. Steffi, can you give me my color checker, please? So first fix the color. Now it's important with the color checker that you have it like this. Don't do it like this. You have to have it like this. So make sure that there are no shadows cast on the squares. So Lois, can you hold this in front of your face, please?
Yes.
Okay, and make sure that you hold it like this, so there are no fingers on the squares. And it's not a makeup box. In front of your face. And there's one thing that's very important. Down. You have to make a funny face, otherwise it won't work. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Yes, that's the one. They all believe that. They're so incredibly nice to do that. Okay, the only thing I now have to do is actually, in a moment, and I will do that later, of course, is take my color picker and just click on one of the squares. Now, in Lightroom, you can create a profile. In Capture One, I will just do proper white balance. And you're done. Oh yeah, the light, it was very flat. So let's see what we can do. I want that high contrast look. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this light and we move it all the way here. And this is no joke, really all the way here. Incredibly close to my model, who hates me for this. So it's very, very close. Can I get closer? Almost not. So we have a really tight fit to the model. Really close up, really nice. So let's take that light meter again. Let me see, where's my light meter? Ah, there we go. I thought it was there, but of course I moved the light. Now I know already that this will be way too bright, so I'm going to turn down the lighting. All the way down. It doesn't go any lower. (11.9). So give it one click up and we are at f16. Great. I heard you. Actually I didn't, but that will be creepy. Okay, let's go to f16. Okay, Lois, are you ready? This is going to be intense. Chin up just a little bit. There we go. Okay. So now you get a really nice, intense look. It's more high contrasty, but it's still not really there. I wanted a little bit more. And this is where you come into the limitation of that small softbox. That small softbox will not do the effect that you want unless you do something like this. You take that softbox and you actually move it up. And you start feathering that softbox. So we move it up. And I'm going to feather the light on my model. So I'm actually going to aim it behind her. And making sure that only a little bit of light still catches her eyes. Okay. F11, so that's almost a full stop less. Because I believe I was on F16. Yes, I'm now on F11. That's a full stop less. Okay. Very nice. There we go. Chin up just a little bit. Nice. Okay, look towards the light. And you almost get that old-fashioned, like Hollywood lighting. Oh, that's nice. Especially with the red lipstick. That's really cool. And this is with a very, very cheap softbox. So let's up the ante a little bit. And let's start doing this again with that beauty dish. So we're going to switch over the lighting. So guys, can you help me out very quickly? This was not planned, by the way. But with me, you never know. Okay, the beauty dish. That one. Yes. Let's move that there. Cool. And the reason for the beauty dish is very simple. It's a small light source and it has a grid. And with the grid you can really pinpoint the light towards your model. And that's something we're gonna do. And again, it's really close to my model, like this. It's almost too close for comfort. When it's too close for comfort, it's almost right. Light meter, of course, on that one. They should make those light meters that then when you whistle, they actually tell you where they are. Also, something that's really cool about the ELCs from Emmeloord is that I can really pull them down in power. So normally when you have a strobe, for example, it will go down to the setting 2.3 on the Emmeloord scale. And this one will actually go down to 0.3. So I can use them really close on the models and still get not too much light output. I'm going to turn this all the way down because I want shallower depth of field. Shallow depth of field, that close? No. But anyway. 5.64, 8.0. So we have a really rapid light fall off. 5.64, 8.0. So that's going to be awesome. Okay, so I'm going to shoot it on F8. Okay, there we go. Really nice. And look a little bit that way. Nice. Cool. Chin up. That's awesome. Keep it that way. It's really nice. Try to find the light with your eyes. That's cool. Nice. Cool. And this is pretty straight on light, which I normally hardly ever use. But as you can see, it gives you that really almost Hollywood quality of lighting. And let's see what we can do with this in black and white. So let's go to the computer. You don't see, a photo shoot doesn't have to take long. Just get the results you want. Oh, and by the way, Anouk, do you still have the camera on me? Which camera do you have for me? That one? Okay. In all honesty, Lois, stand next to me.
Okay.
We want to do something really special. Look at that camera.
Yes.
Stand in front of me.
Okay.
We're going to grade Lois. So, what did we think of Lois? I think Lois is a real thumbs up. What do you think, Lois?
I think, yes.
One of those two, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so very much, Lois.
Yes.
And we'll see you again,
Thank
without
you.
a doubt.
Okay.
Okay, let's go back to the computer. Normally we're very serious, guys, but... Okay, I have to set everything up, so in between I'm going to show you something. And a lot of people ask me about that light meter stuff. We also have a video for that. Hey guys, my name is Frank Dorhoff and I'm the author of the book Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, you guys really like the book because we're getting a lot of rave reviews on Amazon and every other online store. So that actually triggered us to make a video series about the book. Now, in the first video, I will tell you everything about the light meter. Now, in digital photography, I think the light meter is the one thing that confuses people a lot. Shouldn't I use the histogram, Frank? Isn't there a meter inside the camera? Where do I point the meter? Towards the pretty girl? Towards the camera? Towards the light source? Where? There's a lot of confusion out there. Now in this video, I will give you in more than 70 minutes all the insights out about the light meter. Calibrating, using incident and reflective, using a white background, how to keep details in the black, how to trigger the meter, where to point the meter. You will see everything very easily explained, but you will also see photo shoots including our model Manon. This is one of the videos if you're slightly interested in the light meter, or if you already have a light meter and you want to know everything about it, get this video. It's called Mastering the Model Shoot, the light meter, and it's the first video in a whole series that we're going to release in connection to our book Mastering the Model Shoot, and it's available now from our website. And we're back with some questions. Okay guys, let me see. MSM is just 3 miles down the road from me, Keith. Okay, so you have no excuse. I will see you at MSM. And make sure you do that because that workshop is gonna be so awesome. We have Nadine with us. It's gonna be freaking awesome, really, trust me. Okay, about models, personalities. I think you can see a difference in the pictures if you have a great character in front of your camera or you have a not so great character, even if they pose exactly the same way. What's your thought on this? You are absolutely right. The thing is, for the photographer, we have to pull out that model's character. So in other words, even if you have a model in front of you that goes like, I want to go home. You have to make sure that she goes like, I don't want to go home, I want to stay here, I want to make that photo shoot, I want to be in front of that camera. So you have to make sure that you're enthusiastic. Now sometimes I'm not. I'm human, right? Like before Digital Classroom, everything went sour, everything worked except that internet. And that really pisses me off. So like 1 minute before we got the internet working, as soon as the camera runs, I'm happy. I'm a minion. I'm totally, yay, banana. You know, I'm having fun with you guys. As soon as the camera turns down, I will probably be pissed off again at the internet. But you will never, ever show that to your client. And if you are enthusiastic to your client will notice that, and it will be great. So don't worry. But again, if you have an experienced model, that helps a lot. Okay, when you start Photoshop, a start workspace appears with recent opened files. But if you have already an open image or try to open another one, how to make the same start workspace again? I don't know, Paolo. I use Photoshop the way I use my bike. I sit on it, I bike. If something goes wrong, I can fix it. But if something really goes wrong and I want to change something, I go to the bike repair shop. And what I mean with this is, I think what you want is to have a different startup screen, and it goes way beyond what I know. Photoshop, I know everything as soon as I'm in. I know everything that has to concern about my workflow. Somebody asked me something about 3D. I don't know, really. So I can't help you with that, sorry. Maybe it's a simple thing, by the way, but no. Okay, Fred, sorry, super that you did do it. Thank you so very much. That was Dutch, by the way. They love that I do this kind of stuff. And Johan, in a future digital classroom, can you show us a setup doing a more fashion light-in-light full body shoot, or a setup using one light and a reflector? Okay, for the next digital classroom, I don't know who the model is. We're gonna do one full body with a little bit of motion. So we'll try to fit that in. And by the way, there will also be a digital classroom with cosplay soon. Yes, because those workshops are absolutely freakingly awesome. And I know I say awesome way too much. But you know, it's an awesome word, so why not say it? Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the computer very fast. So go to the main PC. And I'm gonna show you exactly how we're gonna use the color checker in Capture One. Because in Capture One, as mentioned before, I can't do a profiling. I can do that only in Lightroom. But you see that she's a little bit yellow. Just go to your color picker, click here, and you're done. Now the only thing I have to do is select all my images, press the Shift, Adjustments, and then copy and apply adjustments. And apply. And now all my images, don't bother me. All my images are 100% correct in color temperature. Okay, so let's see which image I like. And I want to show you what happens when you use your lighting the correct way. Now, these were a little bit too soft for my taste. I miss cat lights. I like this one, but cat lights are a little bit too big. Love this one, really nice. I think maybe this is a 5. This one is the beauty dish. See, that's a little bit harsher in light. Oops. I need my loop. There we go, that's not good. Okay. This one is really nice. Oh, and by the way, if you see me doing this, you see how fast that goes? So it really renders really fast. Even if I take a new picture, there we go, it's immediately sharp. And that's something that I really like about Capture One. And a lot of people have asked me like, okay, but Capture One, why Capture One? Well, very simple. Look at this, View, and then Focus Overlay Mask. Everything that's green is in focus. Now, this is set up on a ridiculously setting where you actually get a lot of the stuff in focus, but you can also tune this down. And you can do that in preferences. Let's go into preferences really fast and show you. And there we go. And then go to focus overlay. I can actually lower the threshold. And to show you only, let me see what, there we go. Let's go the other way. This is where I normally have it, around 370. Because now you can really see that, okay, this area is in focus and this area. It actually looks at contrast. Ooh, look at her skin. Ooh, doesn't that make you jealous as a model? Wow. Photoshop inside. Lois. Okay, hide focus mask. Okay, so I like this shot too. Did I already give it 5 stars? Yes. If you give it another 5, it will be 10. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, love this shot. Really artistic.
It's mine.
It's Anouk just calls out, "That's my shot. That's my shot." Okay, so I use the color checker only on the beauty dish. So this one is actually a little bit, and that's actually, oh, this is something that's really important to point out. So let's switch to my other camera very quickly. Now you see that there's a huge color difference, right, between the beauty dish and the softbox, and that's very, very easy to explain. The softbox has been with us in the studio for I think at least 12 years now. Over the years, materials will change in color, and we don't smoke. So if you use smoke and nicotine, that will really change the color of your soft diffusing panels. In our case, it's just simple, probably daylight or whatever. But it will change over time. And in 12 years, it did change. That is why you use a color checker every time you change your light setup. So if you have Allengram strobes, don't go like, oh, they're all the same color temperature. If you buy them new, all modifiers will have approximately the same color temperature, but still a diffusion panel can change the color temperature. So make sure you check that and shoot a color checker before every major switch of your light source. In this case, I did it only at the beauty dish. So, or I did it, I don't remember, probably with the softbox, by the way. Do you know what I mean? I hope. And otherwise, sorry. Okay, there we go. So the only thing I want to show with this is how easy it can be to make a shot work. And we're going to do everything in the raw converter, because this is what a lot of you guys ask me. Like, okay, Frank, we know we can do it in Photoshop, but how about the raw converter itself? And in Lightroom, you can also get these presets. So don't worry, it's not like it's only done in Capture One. So let's go to old-fashioned film. No, that's too much. And normally this is really fast, by the way, guys. Now it's really dragging, as you can see. But it's because we're also screen sharing and we're doing some other stuff in the background. Because Capture One is incredibly fast. Okay. Let's say you have something that you like. And I think I'm going to end up with the film once again. The old-fashioned, for example, with grain. Oh, that one is really nice. Or the old film. No, this one. Let's say I really like this one, but I don't like the grain per se. So I can actually take that out. There we go. And let's say I want a little bit more contrast in the shot. And maybe lower the brightness just a little bit, up the exposure, up the contrast. Open up shadows, protect the highlights. No, don't protect the highlights. End it up with a little bit of a curve. There we go. Now if you want this to be a little bit more darker, you can actually, of course, create a new layer. And you have to be smart with this kind of stuff. Just think ahead. Don't just go waltzing in and just go like, okay, I need Photoshop for this, I need Photoshop for that. Photoshop is absolutely awesome and one of the best programs in the world to retouch your images with. But sometimes you just want it a little bit faster, and that's when stuff like Capture One or Lightroom really helps you out. And because I'm using soft brushes, you can really feather the effect away. Don't make it too much, because you do want it to show up because it's really light. And there you go. Now what I would do with this, because it's a more classical portrait, I will actually try to give it a little bit more of a tight look, in a bit more like a square. It's not really a square at the moment. Let's change this just a little bit more. I have a black background, so that's a really nice, not honest. There we go. Okay, this I like more. So as you can see, you can do that very easily. Okay, so there were some more questions about actually the new BenQ monitor, and I want to talk about that in a few seconds. So let me see, where's the BenQ monitor? That's actually, I think, this one. Okay, so I have to set up that camera myself. Let's zoom it out a little bit. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we have the new 4K BenQ monitor. Hello. And the cool thing about a 4K monitor, let's just switch to that camera very quickly. The cool thing about a 4K monitor is not that it's 4K. A lot of people think, okay, 4K monitor, high resolution. It's not the only thing. If you look at the monitor, you can very quickly see that it's actually pretty big in size. It's a 32-inch monitor, so it's pretty big. But also, when you look at the monitor, you see that you get a hood with it. And in the hood, there's actually a little bit of a... Let me see if I can get that really fast. Here we go. There's a little... Annemiek, don't stand in front of the camera.
Sorry.
There's a hole in there, and you can put an analyzer in there. Now, what is an analyzer? It's a color analyzer, and you really need one of those to calibrate your screen. Calibration is very important because you want to make sure that the colors are correct. Now, there are two ways of calibrating your monitor. One is hardware calibration. Two is software calibration. Software calibration you do with, for example, the software X-Rite, and in this case, what I use is ColorMonkey. And you have software, and that will create a so-called ICC profile. Now, what it does is very simple. It knows how red is supposed to look. And it will find out how close your monitor can come to that red. And it's an offset, because normally the reds aren't as red as it should be. So there's an offset, and that's actually stored in the ICC profiling. Now, somebody asked me before in Digital Classroom, they said, okay, Frank, I have this black and white image and it shows some tearing. And I told you that's probably because you're working in an 8-bit space instead of 16 bits. With calibration, it's a little bit the same. It's not exactly, but a little bit. If you calibrate on your computer, on the software side, creating the ICC profiling, you're doing everything on the computer. And that's okay. It works. It's been working for years. But if you have a monitor that has the option to do a hardware calibration, meaning inside the monitor, you don't use your computer resources for that. Or in other words, you have a bigger space to work with. Let's call it that. It's a little bit more complicated, but let's call it that. You have a LUT lookup table inside the monitor. That way, when you see a gradient from, for example, dark blue to light blue, you will see when you do software calibration, you will see that there are a little bit of an artifacts in between. It's not like really nice and smooth. Now, if you do hardware calibration, you will see that it's a lot more smoother. So that's why we actually really advise you guys to get monitors like this, because they are hardware calibratable. And of course, BenQ price quality, they really can't be beat. So that's really nice stuff. Okay, let me see if there are any more questions, and otherwise I think we are done. And of course, we have a new Digital Classroom coming up very soon, but I'm going to tell you that in a moment. Okay, if you use color gels on your... okay, here we have some questions. And in between, I'm going to ask you guys to do something for me. And you know we give this stuff to you guys for free. And I'm not going to ask for your money. I'm not going to ask for letters in the mail telling you guys that you love me and you love Anna-Week. Of course, we do appreciate it. We don't ask for Batman stuff, although we really appreciate if you send stuff like that to us. We don't ask for your kidneys. I don't really appreciate it too if you send them to me. But we do ask something else for you guys, and you can help me out with this. And this will make sure that my work keeps improving. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Frank Doorhoff. Now, why is that important for us? And I'm always open with you guys. You know that, right? I never lie. We have a lot of interest lately from companies that like what we do, and they want to help us out by sending us stuff to review. Of course, we have to send it back in most cases, and in some cases we can keep it. That's always cool. But they also look at subscription numbers, and I see that a lot of you guys, and this is something that I really love about you guys. If you subscribe to our channel, we find out that a lot of people also watch, and this is also what the suppliers see. So they normally look at your numbers. If the numbers are really high, like 1 million, what some people have, it's easy for them. But most of the guys who have 1 million subscribers only have like 10,000 people watching a video. With us, and again, we love you guys for this. If we put something online, a lot of people watch it. So we really appreciate it, but we need more subscribers for what we want to do in the future, because we want to do way more, especially with behind the closed doors. You will see a lot of changes coming soon. So that's going to be my question for you guys. So some more questions. If you use color gels on your speed light scan, do you use the X-Rite color checker and how to work with them? Okay, with color gels, this is a really cool question. How does it work with color gels? Remember this, if you have a color gel, you want that color to be that color, right? So if you gel your strobe red, you of course want the color to be the red. Now, if you want to make sure that that color red is the real color red you put on, you have to make sure that you put the color checker before you put the gel on. So you first shoot the color checker without any gels on the strobe. This is where you create your profile. Then you put the gel in front, and you know for sure that the gel you put in front is exactly the way as it should be. Why not shoot it with the gel in front? Very simple. If you put a red gel in front of a strobe and you use the color checker and you do the proper profiling, you don't have to use a red gel because the model will look normal. So that's how a color checker works. Okay, a few more. Let me see. Sometimes it would be very handy to view the thumbnails when opening a new file. I don't know if you mean that to me or something else. If you have the question, please ask again or email me, because I always also answer my emails. About the Allengram strobes, you used the 500. Were you ever in a situation where you needed the 1000? I use 1000s and 500s. I use them in a mix. In a situation where I really need the 1000, no and yes. When I want to do freeze motion, I always use the 1000s because they're one stop higher, and the freezing point of the Allengrams is now actually in the middle, so at 3.6, 3.9. And the 1000s are just a little bit better at that. For medium format, I love to shoot on ISO 50, f22 sometimes, and then you really need that extra power. But remember, and this is where a lot of people go wrong, the difference between a 500 watt strobe and a 1000 watt strobe is only one stop. If you want to get another stop, you need double that amount. So in other words, 500, 1000, 2000, 4000. This is the same with small strobes. If you put two speed lights together, or let me put it this way, if you have one speed light and you can get f4, put two together, you have f5.6. Put 4 together, and you have f8. Put 8 together, and you have f11. So it actually constantly doubles. I want to buy another video soon. I don't know if the light meter or New York, and which one first. Let me see. I think the light meter. The New York one is without a doubt the best video we made I think in our whole history. It's absolutely stunning video work from Emmeloord and great editing, and she was awesome with that. She's sitting next to me, you know why I say this, right? Anyway, it's a great video. And about street and travel photography, it's really cool. And if you ever visit New York, there's a lot of tips on there. But if you really want hardcore information, then the light meter video is without a doubt something you should buy. Also, there's a lot of lighting tips on there in between the light meter stuff. So I think the light meter one. Let me see if there's a reason why you use a color monkey and not a spider. I can't say that online, but I will. I tested them both. And I just found out that the X-Rites are more stable than the Spider system. And some people will agree and some people will disagree. They both have problems in the past with software. At the moment, I just think the X-Rite brand is just a little bit better. Also because we use a color checker, we use a color checker video, we use our color monkey, we use the i1 Pros, we use our monitors. And this is one thing that you should realize. Most monitors that have hardware calibration use X-Rite products. So that actually literally shows you a little bit where the market is going. A Spider is in no way bad. It's just good. Now, some people will tell you, hey, Frank is a Colorati, so he's sponsored by X-Rite. This is something, and again, I'm always very open with you guys, we're not sponsored by anyone. If you are a Colorati or if you are an Adobe influencer, it means that they help you out by promoting, for example, our workshops. And we help them out by promoting their product or showing the stuff in videos. There's no real sponsorship going on, I wish. So some companies do, but most of them are just, if you are in a program, it's just because they love your work and they love to work with you guys. So that's how it works in reality. Otherwise, I would probably have a jet now and a really nice DJI Mavic. I'm totally in love with that one. And a week is now looking at me going like, you can't buy one. I'm selling my Unique, so if anybody wants to buy a Unique, because if I sell that one, I can buy the Mavic from DJI. Love that one for the vlog. And a week, please. No. Okay. Is there a difference between BenQ and ISO, and if so, what? ISO is absolutely awesome. Great monitors. The thing is, BenQ I had next to the ISO, and we had them both. And I didn't see that much of a difference. In all honesty, I didn't see a difference at all. But the price difference at that point was only about half for the BenQ. So I was going like, this is a no-brainer, just get the BenQ. And you have to realize, I teach, I educate, I teach you guys. And most of the guys I educate only have like a limited budget. So if I tell them buy an ISO monitor, they spend a lot of money on the ISO and they can't do anything else. Now, if I have a monitor that does, let me say 99% the same thing, but it's 1,000 euros cheaper or 400 euros cheaper or even 100 euros cheaper, because ISO now also has a cheaper brand monitor, a cheaper line of monitors. So make sure that you are indeed looking at the right stuff for the right reasons. Somebody just gave me something, so I lost my thought of train. Sorry for that. But the BenQ, ISO, both great monitors. ISO, of course, is a well-known brand. BenQ is up and coming. But if you are more familiar with gaming, you know that BenQ is actually world leader because they make the best gaming monitors. There's even a joke. If you use a BenQ monitor, you're already ahead of the rest because they are so fast. And now that they started doing photography monitors, they do exactly the same. They make sure you get the best tools for your art. And they're really good. And a week is awesome. Yes, I know. It was a response about the start workspace. Yeah, I know, Paolo, but I don't understand what you want to do, or maybe I just misread. But just email me about it. Maybe I know when I see it in an email. Let me see. Thanks for the classroom. Thanks again for all the info. We have something more for you guys. Professional imaging. 18, 19 and 20 March in the Netherlands, Nijkerk. There is the professional imaging. What is professional imaging? Let me put it this way. You know how enthusiastic I am about Photoshop world? Yay! Professional imaging is yay! It's exactly the same. It's cool, it's awesome, it's great. We have amazing speakers. We have Glyn Dewis, my brother, from another mother and another father probably, but Glyn Dewis is rocks. We have Christiane Schurk, which is amazing retoucher. We have Joe Carlos, that's a photographer that actually spends more time in a plane than at his home. Really cool fashion stuff. When you see that stuff, you go like, what? That's amazing. And we actually gonna announce another speaker probably this week. And that's one I really look up to. And they keep putting him back by introducing him because they wanna up the tension for me. But that guy is amazing. Now, anyway, Nadine and me, that can be a really expensive joke. But anyway, Nadine and me are going to be on stage 5 minutes. Going to do a photo shoot. And that guy, and I can't tell his name yet, but trust me, it's going to blow your mind. He's going to do an art piece in about 1 hour, 45 minutes that will literally change the way that you look at digital art. He's amazing. And we have so much more guys up there. So make sure you check it out, Professional Imaging. The website is professionalimaging.nl. And you can get your cards there now, your tickets now there. They're, I believe, €7.50. And they're 3 days. And make sure you get 3 tickets because every day will be different. And the other thing is, April 5th, we have another digital classroom. Who's the model in a week?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet, so that's going to be great. So we're going to do a digital classroom, and I'm going to do a special fashion digital classroom, meaning we're going to use bigger light sources, we're going to make the models jump, we're going to make the models move around and add some motion. So that's going to be something that somebody in the comments just asked. So we're going to do that next digital classroom. Let's call it fashion to the max. What do you think? Yeah, sounds awesome. Okay, do you think ISO affects color? Yes and no. Sometimes when ISO goes up, you will see that color goes down and also detail. So yes, that can. Let me see, I enjoyed my time here. Thanks Frank and Enoweek and this audience. Awesome. Okay, thank you Michelle. Let me see, nice pointing out the budget issue. We all want the best and we have to make concessions often. How do you compare the PT2700 with the 4K? Okay, the PT2700 was the BenQ before this BenQ. And this BenQ and my face, and this BenQ and my face, and this BenQ and my face is actually the perfect combination because I love big screens. It's absolutely stunning. Now, why do I love big screens? For the very simple reason we do a lot of video editing. And with video editing, if you do 180p on this monitor, you can actually see the full resolution of your 180p in your preview. You heard that correct. Full resolution 180p in your preview. And that's great because you have no scaling artifacts. And with 4K, of course, you can just play it full screen. It looks stunning. So I like the monitor a lot, but that should be clear now. Okay, and of course we always think about you guys' budget, because you only can spend your money once, and I don't want to steal your money, I just want to give you good advice. Hey Frank, how do you color calibrate your BenQ and your Cintiq to have the same color space? Very good question. As you can see, here is the Cintiq, there is the BenQ. Now, on the Cintiq, we actually use the Color Monkey, which is a spectrometer, so color analyzer with a spectrometer inside, which is very, very accurate, the Color Monkey. And on the computer side, we use hardware calibration from BenQ. So they will never be exactly the same. That's impossible, because they're both different displays. Even if you have two BenQs next to each other, there will always be a little bit of a drift. But they're pretty close. So always make sure that you calibrate both workspaces. The thing is, you can see that in my setup, I actually have the BenQ over there and the Wacom over here. And the reason is I trust the BenQ very much with shadow detail. The color on both is okay, but on the, great. On the BenQ, I just see more shadow detail. So I always have a preview on my BenQ to make sure that I see all my shadow detail, because sometimes on the Cintiq, I don't see that shadow detail, or I see it after I saw it on the BenQ, so I can make a mistake when editing. So that's actually why, and that's only for my work, by the way. I use a lot of dark and shadow. Okay, let me see. I missed the date for the Next Digital Classroom. That's April 5th. He was on the phone. And let me see. I've spidered 2. They will not work on today's LCD monitors. Bad choice. I don't have it. I have it with them. Yeah, Roger, don't worry. Every color analyzer, and I mean every color analyzer, have to be replaced in about 2 or 3 years of use. So you are probably up for a new one anyway. There are people who argue that's not true, and well, trust me, I know a lot about color calibrations. I'm an ISF trained engineer. That sounds weird, right? But it's something that we do for home theater. So I calibrate displays, projectors, TVs and whatever, and we use higher grade material for that, of course. But for the computer stuff, the thing you have to realize, an analyzer will deteriorate over time, and it's very easy to explain. Inside the analyzer are gels, and gels are organic, and those gels will deteriorate over time, and those gels actually meter your light. So if those gels change, your calibration changes. So every 3 or 4 years, you have to replace it. And we actually advise, when we do the ISF stuff, every year we do a new calibration on our analyzer. That actually means that we have to recertify our analyzer, and it costs a lot of money for those. But we still do it. We could also say do it once every 2 years, but we don't. And of course, the work that I do is a little bit more critical than the stuff on the computer, but still, every 2 years, you should replace your analyzer. Except if you have a spectrometer, they can go on a little bit more, and they can even be recalibrated or recertified. And they do it actually with a Minolta analyzer, so and that's more inside information, and that one is 20,000 euros. We don't use that one, by the way, but they use that to recertify analyzers. Okay. And I think that was it. Thank you for doing a fashion shoot. Oh, and Anouika has one more question, and that's the final one, because I'm tired. I want to go home. I have to edit behind the closed doors for you guys. So let's give that final question.
Somebody forgot to subscribe, so he's sending his kidneys now.
Somebody forgot to subscribe to our channel, and he's now sending me his kidneys? Dude. Just subscribe, that's way easier. Don't send your kidneys, just press that button, subscribe. Keep your kidneys, keep them. Unless they're Batman, but hey. Oh, by the way, about Batman. Don't you just love this? I got it from Steffi when she was my intern. She made it herself. So awesome. Okay guys, so thank you so very much for watching. My name is Frank Dorhoff, and I just love to teach you guys stuff about photography. If you have any questions, just ask them in the comments below, because we will check those comments after the show, after the broadcast. Get my book, Mastering the Model Shoot, or get any of our videos. And the videos you can actually find here. I'm going to show you that very quickly. And they're very reasonably priced, I think. And if you want the presets you saw during digital broadcast, make sure you get them here. Or just check our website, because on our website you see a lot of stuff going on. And of course the YouTube channel. Thank you so very much for watching, guys, and see you next time. And in between, by the way, we will also do some smaller live broadcasts brought to you by BenQ and Rogue. And those will be called the Q&A. So no model, just me and you guys. Bye, guys.